Sharp Game here, coming at you with another episode from ChooseYourRelationships.com, off of Love Can't Wait, which can be found on Amazon.com. And somebody sent me this article that's on CheatSheet.com, and it's a website particularly about money, career, health, fitness, lifestyle, entertainment, sports, culture, a little bit of everything. And relationships, of course. And it talks about financial reasons never to get married. And it brings up a lot of relevant ideas and concepts that I thought that I would share with you. So I'm going to read some of this. It says, there are countless benefits to a solid and healthy marriage. The whole through sickness and health thing really is pretty great when you think about it. But those with financial stability, or even those who can't afford the slightest increase in monetary expenses, might want to consider the sometimes negative correlations between marriage and money before getting hitched. No doubt about it. It says the first thing, the more expensive the ring, the shorter the marriage. And to be honest, they said the average wedding or average ring is anywhere between $2,000 to $4,000. Average engagement ring. I didn't know that. That comes from, according to Emory University, which is located in Atlanta. So that's interesting. I never really thought about how much money people spend on their engagement rings. And he said, it goes on to say that the researchers from the Emory University found spouses who spent between $2,000 to $4,000 on engagement rings were 1.3 times more likely to divorce than those who spent $500 to $2,000. So I guess I can kind of assume if they spend a lot, $2,000 to $4,000 on the engagement ring, I guess people probably have a pattern of spending much more money in the future. I guess that's what the idea behind the research says. Next is, the wedding will seriously set you back. Thanks to the wedding industry's unwavering efforts to encourage brides to spend more money on weddings, the average wedding in the U.S. is now $32,000. I didn't know that. I thought it would be around $20,000. According to Emory University, and it says little evidence to support those numbers. So I would have thought the wedding would probably be in the 20s range. And most of the time, the wedding usually puts a lot of couples in debt. No one really talks about that, but that's the truth. The truth is most of the couples usually have to pay for their own wedding. No one talks about that, and that usually puts a lot of them in debt, because let's face it, it's very expensive to have a wedding for 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000. Most of that money is on credit. No one talks about that, but that's the truth. Then we got student loan payments. You can't get rid of student loans. Well, I'm going to say you can get rid of it, but that's a video for another day. But student loan payments, most people probably won't ever pay off their student loans. I'm telling you, I have student loans, but I'm going to pay mine off. But if you have any questions on how I'm gonna do that, leave your comments below. But I'm saying this: the average common man and common woman are not gonna be able to pay it off because their loans. I mean, I've heard people student loans 100,000, 200,000. So that's a lot, especially when you're just coming out of college and then you're getting married, and especially if both of y'all have student loans. That's pretty tough. And next we have good credit. You have to understand, when you get married to somebody, y'all both merging each other's credit. Marriage is a partnership, a legal partnership. So if the other person has good credit, poor credit, whatever kind of credit they have, whatever their credit history is, you two merge as one. So whatever that other person got, you got it too. So that's like having a joint account together. So that's how marriage is. So those are just some things you should think about before you get married. Next, what kind of spending habits that your future spouse might have? You got to take that in consideration as well. A lot of people have bad money management, bad spending habits. And if you can't get on the same page, 9 times out of 10, y'all gonna be arguing and bickering and going back and forth. And there's some people, depending on how they grew up, some people like going out to eat all the time. Some people don't like to cook at home. Some people like having they like to go out of town every other weekend, or sometimes every other weekend. Or some people, when their friends call, they like to get up and go. Some people don't really think long term when it comes to anything. Some people are just in the moment. So if y'all can't come to some type of agreement, that's where a lot of arguments going to come from. So you have to make sure before you get married that y'all on the same page, that y'all have the same value system. Doesn't have to be the exact same values, but y'all have to have the same goals. Is this person ambitious, or are they just happy to have a job? So you have to really look deep before you leap when it comes to situations like this. Next, you get taxed more. The tax rate is much higher when you're married because the IRS tend to put a higher tax on married couples. However, there's some other options that you have in situations like this. You can start a corporation. You can incorporate. You can do that too. There's some things you can do to overcome this. There's always loopholes, I should say, that I've found over the years. And hey, I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice. Do your own research. This information can be found online, or if you go to the IRS website or whatever. But I'm just saying that there's always ways to do business, in American society. So those are, income tax. It used to be, it's a lot of the tax laws have changed over the past 5 to 10 years. Being married used to be, you used to get a lot of tax breaks, but it's not so much that way anymore. But there's always a way around it. There's more than one way to skin a cat, as they always say. Next, they say money brings additional money stress. Marriage brings additional money stress. And the reason why that is because, see, in the beginning, a lot of couples, especially the men, they, I think a lot of guys get caught up. They underestimate how much money it's really going to take to sustain a family, especially when kids get involved. And see, here's the deal. See, a lot of women are so damn emotional. And, as soon as the bills start coming in, they're going to, by default, in most cases, most women, by default, in most cases, is going to look up the man to pick up the tab. So the problem is a lot of guys don't have the tools to make it happen. That's the problem. That's why a lot of guys get stressed out. And this is where a lot of the bickering and a lot of the frustrations and a lot of the kind of a lot of guys feel like they signed up for something that they weren't aware of. They signed up for something that they kind of felt like it was going to be a team sport. And a lot of women kind of let the guy hang out there by themselves. And this is what I've been hearing over the past 20, 30 years. A lot of women, when they get married, it's like in the beginning, before they get married, it was like a team sport. The woman was all supportive and everything. And as soon as they get married, a lot of that stuff changes. A lot of women, their habits start to change. Instead of, being motivated to do stuff together, a lot of the women kind of get comfortable. And that's when the guy feels like he's been bamboozled. And when they start bickering amongst each other, then there's a wedge that forms in between the couple. And then, it's usually downhill from there. Next, divorce is very expensive. So if you get married and if things don't work out, it's easy to get in, but it's much expensive, and the timing that it takes for you to get out is you got to pay the cost to be the boss. They say the average cost is anywhere between $25,000 to $50,000, and I didn't even know that, to be honest. I just hear a lot of horrible stories that happens once, especially when if the couples are separated even before they officially get a divorce. So, and then you splitting assets and resources, and the kids get involved. So I've heard a lot of terrible stories, man. So you got to look deep before you leap. You really have to. Because marriage is a business. And if you don't believe it, go down to your nearest courthouse Monday through Thursday. You're going to see that guys are being taken to the cleaners, and the laws are biased, and women are given the benefit of doubt in society. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but ultimately it comes down to money, because you have to always keep this in mind. In society, the men are the tricks and the women are supposed to be the hoe. So in other words, the men are supposed to keep spending money and the women are supposed to keep getting exploited for money. So always keep that in mind. I don't care what business or what company you work. even if you turn on the television, even if you see a banner down the street, or even if you're looking at a movie, even if I don't care what organization you in or what area of expertise you might be in, the women 9 times out of 10 are going to be exploited in some way, somehow, because that's how this whole economic system is really set up. Really. And I see it all the time, and it's been going on like this for a long time, especially when it comes to marketing and advertising, online and offline, and on television, and especially when it comes to a lot of these shows on television, like the reality shows and the movies, and you got porn. Even in porn, women get exploited all the time. We want to get exploited in entertainment. I mean, it could be music. It could be any area, you name it. Women are going to be exploited. Women are going to be exploited in almost every way known to man. And it's set up that way. Next, they said divorcing later in life is even worse. So yeah, if there's nothing worse than a 50 or 55-year-old getting a divorce in their later years. That's really tough, because I see a lot of women in their 50s, when they get divorced, the majority of these women don't get married again. They don't really have very little success in the dating scene. So, and I think a lot of it has to do with just being married for so long, and just, just not socializing very much with anybody for a long time. And I think it's kind of like one of those things where if you don't use it, you lose it. And plus you have to split your assets, resources, and your home, your retirement accounts, and child custody. And that's probably the worst thing that could happen to a person that's in their 50s. And it's very tough, Next, you have to consider health care. It says there are many factors to consider on the health front in marriage. Deductibles can change, benefits will vary on differing plans, and depending on your health situation, what worked for you in the past might not work for your partner moving forward. If you were previously eligible for the Affordable Care Act, there's a good chance adding another income through marriage will disqualify you for those discounts. Even more, older couples must account for both incomes when determining their eligibility for Medicaid, and considering the cost of nursing homes these days, it could completely deplete your savings. Yeah, that's true. The older you get, insurance companies tend not to want to do business with you. So yeah, there's a lot that you have to think about when it comes to health care for some people. And because, let's just face it, a lot of people just don't take care of themselves. And these people like that eat anything or live a reckless lifestyle, they smoke, drink, chronic drinker, chronic smoker, drug user, people that just are not health conscious, these are the people that really need health care. Now, if you take care of yourself, you do your best, you're conscious of what you put on your body, what you put on your body and in your body, if you're conscious of what you look at, listen to, you should be okay. You're not stressed all the time. You don't get caught up in these holidays and having to work yourself and put too much responsibility on yourself. If you don't follow the crowd if you don't follow the sheep or become sheep, you probably end up being okay health wise. But if if you do what most people do, you probably have all kinds of sickness, high blood pressure, you're diabetic. If you eat anything, if you're overweight, if you live a reckless lifestyle, you probably need health care. You're probably going to be like a lot of these women I know that can't even make it to 40 without falling apart. So, these are just some things you might have to consider. It's just going to be dependent on how you living. What's your life like? Next, you have to consider higher car insurance premiums. And this makes sense. If you have more than one driver on your insurance, you have to consider, your insurance premium might be higher versus being a single person. And plus, it's, most of the time it's going to be dependent on the state and how long the other person's been driving as well. Because if it's your first time having your license, and especially if you're under 25, the rates is going to be higher versus a person that's over 25 and that's been driving for a long time. And it's going to depend on the make and model of the car and the mileage and the history of the person. How many tickets you got, if any, how many accidents you had, if any. So these are just some things you should prepare for in advance, really. You have to anticipate a lot of stuff like this. Next, like I said earlier, when they say when you get married, y'all come together as one. So whatever the other person owes or whatever they accumulate during the marriage, if they owe it, you owe it. If they don't pay it, you're not off the hook. So that's what they're talking about here. And it says, there are a few positives to the whole what's mine is yours philosophy in marriage. But those benefits disappear once you realize you can be financially liable if your partner goes bankrupt, forgets to pay the bills on your joint account, or dies before the debts are paid. Exactly. Single people often say the biggest benefit of being single is they are responsible for no one but themselves. When it comes to money and marriage, having full control of your finances can eliminate the potential stressors many married couples often face. Exactly. See, if the person runs up a credit card and if it goes to collection and never gets paid, you're not off the hook. You're still going to be held liable for that account going to collections. You can't just sit back and be like, hey, that ain't got nothing to do with me. She did that, so she should take care of that. No, you're both going to be legally liable for that. Or just because if she don't pay the utility bills, you can't say, hey, she should have paid it. She should be held accountable for that. I didn't know nothing about it. No. Yeah, just because you don't know about it, that don't mean you shouldn't be liable for it or accountable for it. It doesn't work like that. It's like I said, marriage is a business. And if you go to court, you're going to find out real quick what I'm talking about right now. Next, if you buy a home, this is where, your partner has a legal right to the property just as you do. Like they said, unmarried couples who live together or buy property together, even something as insignificant as a couch or piece of artwork, are subject to zero official rules about what happens to that property if you were to part ways. But once married, your spouse has a legal right to all marital property in the same way you do. It's for this reason divorce divorcees are often messy and expensive. Exactly. If you whatever you accumulate together, the person you got married to have the same legal rights as you. And like I said, sometimes depending on what state you live in, the laws can be very biased. The women kind of have the upper hand in most cases. Like if you live in someplace like California, a woman can take up to 80% of your assets and on all the resources y'all accumulated together since being married. So it's really serious, man. Really. And lastly, it's easier to focus on your career when you're single. Now there is some truth to that. This is why I recommend whatever you're going to do, I would prefer that you're established, or you already gotten started on whatever you really want to do, because it takes a lot of time and effort and energy, and you have to have a lot of support to really do it big and make it big and really make a living and make a lot of money. It takes a lot of effort. A lot of people kind of underestimate how much time it takes. So you have to have really a partner that's really understanding on, where things is going and how much time and effort is going to take. And see, I believe every couple has to make a decision at some point. Who's going to be the breadwinner of the family? And once y'all make a decision on who's going to be the breadwinner of the family, all of the effort, I'd say at least 80% of the effort and support has to be behind that one person who's going to be the breadwinner. You shouldn't leave certain things by chance. I believe that, and a lot of people, I don't think they really consider what I just said. I think a lot of couples are kind of in competition with each other more than they spend most of their time competing against each other than trying to get on the same page, and that's a mistake. And that's one reason why a lot of couples grow apart, because in most cases they were never on the same page anyway. They were like, kind of like enemies. They were like kind of like having a social war against each other. But these are just some things you should consider before you get married. Even if you were to even take it there, if your money's not right, and if you don't have a plan, and you just one of those people or one of those couples that just want to just feel good all the time and have sex and don't like to talk about money, if that's you, just don't get married at all, because most people in America are already doing that already. And this is why most of the marriages are failing, because people aren't really thinking about anything. They're just enjoying the fun, sexing and licking and sticking. But when the bills come in, that's when the game really begins. But people don't like talking about it. They like leaving things by chance. And I'm here to tell you that most people are not going to be able to adapt and make things happen because they don't have the mental capacity to do it. So you have to plan in advance. You have to have a plan, because like they say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you like what you heard, subscribe to my channel, share this video, share the link below of this website with anybody that you think that it would help. And check out my blog, chooseyourrelationships.com. Go buy my books, Love Can't Wait, which can be found on Amazon.com. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.